He kicked me out because I couldn't get pregnant. He said, "You can't be a mother, you're not cut out for it." He said I was broken, that I couldn't give him the life he wanted. And then, 3 months later, I saw him, with a baby in his arms, holding her like I'd never existed. But here's what Daniel didn't understand: when you shatter a woman like me, you don't get to walk away whole. My name is Natalie Walker. I'm 38 years old. I've been married for 7 years, and 3 weeks ago, my husband kicked me out of our house. It still doesn't feel real. I keep replaying that night in my head like a scratched vinyl record that refuses to move on. The sound of the front door clicking shut behind me, the suitcase by my feet, the weight of his words, as sharp and cold as the wind slicing through my coat. But let me start earlier. Let me tell you what came before the silence. For years, Daniel and I tried to have a baby. At first, it was hopeful, playful even. Ovulation apps, awkwardly scheduled sex, the usual. We laughed through it. He'd bring me ginger tea when I had cramps. I'd send him silly baby name ideas in the middle of the day. It felt like we were in it together. But months passed, then years. I had a miscarriage after our first IUI. Just 7 weeks in, we had already picked out names. He had already painted the nursery gray and white. We stood in that half-painted room holding each other, saying nothing. It was the first time I saw his eyes go distant, like he was slipping into another world where I couldn't reach him. We moved on to IVF. That's when things got harder. Hormones turned my body into a battlefield, bruises from injections, the constant bloating, the tears that came out of nowhere. And Daniel started disappearing. Not physically, no. He still came home, still made dinner on Wednesdays, still folded his socks like a damn machine. But emotionally? Gone. Some nights, I'd lie next to him, staring at the ceiling, waiting for him to ask how I was, waiting for him to touch me like he used to, waiting for him to say something, anything, that told me he was still in this with me. He never did. I blamed the hormones, the stress, the grief. I told myself love was still there, just buried. But looking back now, maybe I knew. Maybe I just didn't want to face it. 3 weeks ago, I came home from a late shift at the clinic. I work in pediatric oncology. Irony's not lost on me. I spend my days helping kids fight for their lives, while at home, my own dream of having a child was slipping further and further away. The lights were off when I walked in. That wasn't unusual. Daniel often worked late, but the house felt different, airless, as if someone had opened all the windows and sucked the soul right out of it. Then I saw the suitcase, my suitcase, sitting by the door like a loyal dog waiting to be picked up. Daniel stood in the kitchen, arms crossed, jaw tight. His eyes were dry, too dry. I remember the exact words, not because they were poetic or cruel, but because of how calmly he said them. "I can't keep doing this, Nat. I need more. I need a family. You're broken, and I'm tired." That word, broken. It hit me harder than all the needles, all the ultrasounds, all the months of disappointment. It wasn't just that he wanted to leave, it was how he saw me, not as a woman fighting, grieving, hoping, but as something defective. I couldn't speak. I couldn't even cry. I just picked up the suitcase, apparently already packed, and left. He didn't follow me to the door. He didn't ask where I'd go. He just let the silence finish the conversation. I moved in with my sister for a while, Emily. She has 2 kids and a husband who actually seems to love her. Their house is loud, messy, filled with the kind of chaos I used to dream of. She tried to be gentle with me, made me tea every morning, gave me her guest room, pretended not to notice the times I didn't eat, or shower, or come out for hours. A week passed, then 2. Then came the day that shattered the last of my illusions. I was in line at the pharmacy, picking up vitamins, out of habit more than anything. I hadn't fully let go of hope yet. That's the funny thing about pain, it clings to the last threads of belief. even when everything else has fallen apart. That's when I saw him. Across the street, standing by the park, smiling, rocking a baby in his arms, a baby no older than 6 months. He looked happy, peaceful, like someone who'd finally found what he was looking for. And then I heard a voice. A woman's voice, laughing, teasing. She stepped up beside him and kissed him on the cheek. Her hands slid around his waist like they belonged there. I didn't know her, but I knew what I was seeing. He had a child, and a woman, and a life, already built while I was still bleeding grief into a pillow. I felt like the ground tilted, the sound around me disappeared, just wind, cold wind. My legs moved on their own. I walked straight past them, didn't look, didn't speak. But Daniel saw me. Our eyes met for the briefest moment. And in that moment, he didn't look guilty. He looked relieved. After I saw Daniel with the baby, I walked for almost an hour. My hands were numb. I don't remember the cold, just the way my heart felt like it had cracked somewhere deep inside my ribs. I ended up back at my sister's house. Emily was putting her kids to bed, tucking in little socks and reading a story about a talking bear. Her husband was in the kitchen, loading the dishwasher and humming something out of tune. I stood in the hallway and watched them like a ghost watching the living. I should have said something, screamed, cried. Instead, I just walked upstairs, locked the bathroom door, and turned on the shower so no one would hear me fall apart. It's strange, isn't it? How betrayal always feels bigger than it looks. From the outside, it's just a man with a baby in a park, just a woman laughing beside him. But inside, it's a universe shattering, a future imploding. But maybe my story didn't start with Daniel. Maybe it started long before that. When I was 10 years old, I asked my mom if she loved me. I don't know what made me ask. Maybe it was the way she always looked through me instead of at me. Maybe it was the way she only touched me when adjusting my hair or pulling me back in line at church. I remember that day. I had just gotten a B on a math test, and I thought it would matter. She was ironing. I was sitting at the kitchen table, swinging my legs. "Of course I love you," she said, "but love isn't the same as being proud." That was the first time I learned that love, in our house, had conditions. My mother, Margaret, or Maggie when she wanted to impress her book club, believed in perfection. She kept our house like a catalog, every throw pillow fluffed, every cabinet color-coded. She believed children should be seen, not heard, and girls should be graceful, obedient, and clean. Emily fit that mold. I didn't. Emily was the golden one, blue ribbons, perfect braids, a laugh like a silver bell. And me? I was awkward, too tall, too quiet, too prone to asking questions I shouldn't. Like, why did Dad stop coming home for dinner? Or why does it feel like you only smile at Emily? When I was 16, I came home crying after a boy at school told me I was too plain to notice. My mother's response? Maybe if you lost a little weight and fixed your posture, they'd notice you more. It stuck with me, all of it. That belief that I had to earn affection, that my body was a project, my personality something to trim and polish. So, when I met Daniel at 28, I was already trained to serve, trained to please, trained to make myself small in exchange for being wanted. He was charming. God, was he charming? A marketing director with soft hands and a deep voice. He opened car doors. He brought flowers just because. He listened, or at least pretended to. For the first time, I felt like I was enough, and that was all I needed to fall headfirst into him. We moved fast. Within a year, we were married. I didn't see the cracks, or maybe I did, but I wanted so badly for it to be real. I painted over them. The first time I told Daniel I wanted a baby, he looked surprised. "Already?" he asked. I thought we'd wait. But I wasn't 25 anymore. I wanted to be a mom. I needed to, not just because of some biological clock, but because, deep down, I believed that maybe, If I could be a mother, I'd finally be good enough. Do you know how twisted that is? To think that your worth comes from producing another life? But that's how I felt. After all, it's what I'd been taught, that a woman's value is in what she can give. So I gave. I gave my body to fertility clinics. I gave my time to appointments, injections, hope. I gave Daniel patience, understanding, everything. But what did he give me? Distance. Disappointment. And eventually, a replacement. I don't know how long he was with her, the woman in the park. She looked young, maybe late 20s, soft features, long hair, the kind of woman who still looks dewy at 6 p.m., in a hoodie. Was she with him while I was still counting ovulation days? Did he lie to me while she waited in some rented apartment with baby names on a Pinterest board? I don't have answers, only images. Daniel, holding a baby that wasn't mine. Smiling like he'd been freed from something. And me? Standing on the outside, watching the life I had built collapse like a house of matchsticks. That night, after I stopped crying, I opened my laptop. I didn't know what I was looking for. Pain, maybe, proof, clarity. I found her. Her name is Claire Bennett. She works at a wellness startup downtown. She's been posting baby bump photos for months, a little private on Instagram, but not private enough. In one picture, taken 2 weeks before Daniel kicked me out, he's standing behind her, his hand on her belly, his face glowing. She captioned it, "Can't wait for our little family to be complete, 2 hearts," and in that moment, I knew one thing for sure. He didn't just leave me, he replaced me. It wasn't just the betrayal, it was the humiliation, the realization that I had spent years chasing a ghost, while he built a new life in secret, a life I begged for, a life he said he couldn't give me. I couldn't sleep after I found Claire's Instagram. I scrolled through her feed until my thumb hurt, my eyes were dry, but my brain, it buzzed. I memorized every caption, every photo, every tiny, intimate detail she shared with the world like her joy was a trophy. There was a baby shower photo, balloons, a custom cake that said "Baby Bennett is coming soon," and in the corner, there he was, Daniel, my husband, wearing the same blue sweater I bought him for Christmas the year before. She tagged him. I clicked. He had unfollowed me, of course, but there it was, his new life, his new family, all so curated, the captions full of clichés. So blessed to be starting this journey, nothing like the love of a first child. I wanted to scream. Instead, I sat in the dark, staring at my reflection in the black mirror of my laptop screen. Who was I now? I was 38, no children, no home, no husband, no answers. The next morning, Emily knocked on the door with coffee and a tired smile. "You barely touched your dinner last night," she said softly. "Do you want to talk about it?" I opened my mouth, closed it again. How do you say, my husband replaced me with a woman who has the life I begged for, and I found out on a park bench, like a tragic character in someone else's story? Instead, I just said, "I'm fine." She saw through it, of course, sisters do, but she didn't push. Emily always gave me space. That day, I tried to be normal. I helped her fold laundry. I baked muffins with her kids. I watched cartoons like I was part of their happy world. But inside? Inside I was building something. A silent, burning rage. In the weeks that followed, I stayed quiet. I didn't text Daniel. I didn't confront Claire. I just observed. I watched his online presence carefully. He was quiet about the baby until after she was born. A girl. Her name was Lily. Claire posted the announcement like a victory. "Welcome to the world, Lily Rose Reeves, born March 4th, 7 pounds, 3 ounces. We love you endlessly. Lily." That was the name I picked for our daughter, the one I never had. I remember the night I told Daniel. We were lying in bed, my head on his chest. If we ever have a girl, I whispered, I want to name her Lily. He smiled, kissed my hair, said, then that's what we'll name her. I guess he remembered. Just not for me. My anger didn't come all at once, it arrived slowly, like rain soaking into soil, one drop at a time until everything was drenched in it. I kept thinking back to our last year together. How cold he'd gotten. The excuses. I'm working late. I'm tired. Let's not put pressure on ourselves. And I thought it was my fault, that I was too focused on the baby, too emotional, too broken. I see it now. He wasn't avoiding the stress. He was avoiding me. Because somewhere across the city, another woman was carrying the child I was still praying for. One night, about a month after I moved in with Emily, I found the old notebook. It was buried in a box from our move, before we bought the condo, when we still dreamed together. It was full of notes, names, plans. One entry, in my handwriting. 2023, IVF round 2. If it doesn't work, we'll try one last time. Daniel had written underneath it, no matter what happens, we'll be okay. I love you. He lied in ink. He lied to my face. He let me inject myself with hormones while he was building a nursery with someone else. That was the night something in me shifted. I stood in the mirror and stared at my reflection for a long time. My eyes were tired, my skin pale. I looked like someone who had been erased. And I made a promise to myself. You won't be a victim in this story, Natalie. No more tears. No more asking why. I would find out everything, not just what he did, but how, when, who helped him, who else knew. Because people don't live double lives alone. Someone helped him lie. And when I found them, they'd all pay. You think you left me behind, Daniel, but I see you. I see all of it now, the cracks, the timeline, the mistakes. You forgot who I was, and what I'm capable of. I started with the little things. Old phone bills, email logins, credit card statements I still had access to, his cloud storage, passwords he never bothered to change. He used the same password for years, our anniversary, the same date that meant nothing to him now. But to me, it was a key. And with that key, the door opened. There were receipts, Uber rides to addresses I didn't recognize, hotel bookings under his name, in the middle of business trips. One of them matched the dates of our third IVF cycle, the one that failed, the one that left me crumpled in the bathroom, bleeding into a towel, while he was networking with investors. Turns out his investor was Claire. Or maybe she was the investment. He was clever, though. Claire wasn't saved in his contacts, just a random string of initials, CJ, legal, but she wasn't legal. She was logistics, making sure I never found out, until I did. I still hadn't told Emily. She saw the shift in me, though. I started walking every morning, not for peace, for planning. I needed silence to think. One day, while I was on one of those walks, I spotted something I hadn't expected. Daniel's car. It was parked outside a sleek glass office building downtown. I knew he worked remotely now, at least. That's what he told everyone. So what was he doing here? I waited. At exactly 4:15 p.m., he walked out, phone to his ear, briefcase in hand, and a woman at his side. Claire. Not just holding his hand, laughing, glowing. A different glow than pregnancy. This was power, confidence, and she was wearing a ring. A wedding ring. No, I whispered. No, no, no. I staggered back behind a tree. My heart wasn't beating, it was slamming. They were married? Legally? When? We weren't even officially divorced until 6 months ago, and the baby's birth. I did the math. Claire was already pregnant when Daniel served me the papers. That's when I realized what this was. This wasn't a mistake. It was strategy. I wasn't discarded. I was replaced, silently, efficiently, like I was just phased out of a life I built with my bare hands. He'd set everything up perfectly. Or so he thought. I started talking to people. Quietly. I met up with Becca, Daniel's former assistant. We hadn't spoken in over a year, but she always liked me more than she liked him. We had drinks, caught up, and then I dropped his name. She stiffened. Oh, you mean the ghost? What do you mean? He disappeared after the merger. Everyone thought he was on sabbatical, but I heard he left with a package, quietly, NDA level. Something shady happened, I think. When was this? About a year and a half ago? That's when everything clicked. Daniel didn't leave his job for peace. He was paid to leave, pushed out, likely for misconduct, maybe worse, and instead of telling me, instead of letting me in, he found someone new to build his lie with. Claire. His clean slate. But here's the thing about clean slates. They're fragile. And Daniel? He was sloppy. Becca told me something else, too, something she probably didn't think mattered. Oh, and guess who he brought to the company retreat his last year? Claire. Said she was a consultant. Total lie, right? I smiled. She didn't know what she'd given me. A timeline, a proof, a name, a face. And maybe something actionable. Because if he was still married to me when he was presenting Claire as his partner in public, that was a problem. A legal one. And I was ready to solve it. That night, I opened my laptop and wrote one name at the top of a blank document. The timeline of a lie. I started typing. Dates, emails, photos, financials, comments, witnesses. The foundation of his new life was rotting. All I had to do was poke hard enough and let it collapse. But I wasn't going to do it loudly. No, Daniel would never see the punch coming. He would think I'd moved on. He'd think I'd accepted it. Until the day I walked into the room and destroyed everything he'd rebuilt, with a smile on my face. Revenge isn't rage, it's patience, it's precision, and it's served cold, just like the truth. I wasn't interested in burning his house down. I wanted to take the roof off in the middle of a storm and leave him standing there, shivering with nothing to hold on to. I spent weeks preparing. I didn't confront him. I didn't send anonymous threats. That would have been emotional and messy. No, this had to be surgical, clean, and public. So I waited, and I watched. Claire's law firm was hosting a gala, one of those black tie affairs with wine fountains and silent auction signs everywhere, a fundraiser for domestic legal aid, irony at its finest. Daniel was going. I knew because he'd posted a smug little selfie with the caption, "Proud to support Claire's passion. She built this from the ground up. #PowerCouple." Funny. Because a week earlier, I'd filed a formal complaint against Claire's firm, anonymously, of course, citing professional misconduct, conflict of interest, improper representation. I attached copies of hotel bills, dates of financial transfers, screenshots of emails. Emails written while Claire and Daniel were knowingly involved, during my marriage. And then I sent a separate packet to the Bar Association. Just to make sure. But the piece de resistance? I reserved a table at the gala. Front and center, under the name N. Weller, my maiden name, the one Daniel probably forgot I still used on legal documents. I came alone, dressed in deep crimson, the color of blood and good wine. I didn't approach them. I just sat there, sipping slowly, waiting. Daniel didn't recognize me at first. It had been nearly a year since he last saw me face to face, a year I'd spent rebuilding quietly, my body, my life, my mind. But Claire did. Her smile faltered the moment our eyes met. She looked beautiful, nervous. She clutched Daniel's arm a little tighter. And then the whispers began. A man in a gray suit leaned toward Claire's boss. A woman showed someone her phone. Daniel kept glancing around like something itched. Then the host stepped on stage. Before we begin tonight's program, we have some unexpected business. We've received a letter and supporting documentation alleging serious ethical violations by one of our featured speakers. You could hear a pin drop. This organization prides itself on integrity. We are suspending our partnership with the named individual pending investigation. Claire's name wasn't said out loud, but it didn't need to be. Every eye turned toward her. And Daniel? He looked at her like she was on fire, like he'd just realized the tower they'd built together was made of soaked paper. He turned around. And he saw me. Not a flicker of recognition. Not at first. But then? His face dropped, he paled, like he'd seen a ghost. Natalie. I smiled. Enjoy the night, Daniel. And I walked out. A week later, Claire was put on leave, pending review. Her firm released a statement. 2 weeks after that, Daniel's finances were frozen during an audit prompted by irregular financial disclosures, also submitted anonymously, but by someone who knew exactly where to look. Their dream home? Turns out, it was purchased in part with marital assets he'd hidden during our divorce. The lawyer I hired, the real one, was better than Claire ever dreamed of being. He reopened the settlement. And I got half of everything. Including the baby grand piano Daniel never learned to play but insisted we buy for aesthetic. I didn't take it to punish him. I took it because I could. It sits by my living room window now, covered in fresh lilies every Sunday, a quiet reminder that the woman Daniel discarded is the woman who watched him unravel. Not in rage, but in silence. Moral? Don't mistake a quiet woman for a weak one. And if you're going to build a lie, don't leave the blueprint where she can find it.